So one of Fran's favorite companies in the demand gen space of role models was a metadata. Well, it's just a coincidence that we have somebody from metadata here. Jason, who's the VP marketing. Jason, if you're here, join me on the stage. All right. Well, look at that virtual background.
Well, it's not virtual. Let's see here.
Okay. Well,
there we go. There we go.
Wow. Okay. Dude. So what's going on?
We're talking about camping, right?
That's right. Yeah. Favorite skis? What's the beanie you're wearing?
Yeah, no. Hey, Pep. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm sitting in the middle of Montana. And so I figured what better thing to do than to do a live event outside, you know?
I'm sure your wife and kids are thrilled that you're doing this.
It's a work week.
Well,
it's a work
week. Okay, so I'm going to drop off the stage. You can share your screen with the share button there, and I'll pop back up in like 20 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, Pep. All right. Hey, everybody. Give me a second here to figure this out. I think, boom, there we go. All right. So I get the lovely chance to talk to you all about some fun creative campaigns that we've done at Metadata over the last couple of years, and just a little bit behind kind of how we think about creativity and B2B marketing here, and then I'll talk a little bit about the story on some of these campaigns that we've run, and then of course answer questions just like everybody else. So and of course I just talked through the agenda without being on the agenda slide. I guess I'll blame it on it's like 40 degrees outside right now. It's pretty cold, but so here is the agenda slide. But yeah, we're talking a little bit about creativity and B2B. Yes, it's important. And then how it all started with combo ads when I first started here at Metadata. Some other fun B2B campaigns, and then Q&A. Real quick background on me. I've been at Metadata for about 3 years now, actually. Yeah, coming up on 3 years. The first 6 months I was consulting, and then about 2.5 years now full-time. Before Metadata, I was working at a bunch of big companies as a marketing operations leader, and good experience. But I realized I'm much better suited at a startup. And it's funny too. I used to say, marketing is a math problem, and it's easy for a marketing operator to say that. I can math my way out of any marketing problem, but since taking over marketing here at Metadata and really focusing on the brand, I've realized just how important brand is. And no, you can't math your way out of everything in marketing, unfortunately. That'd make it too easy. Cool. So we've all seen this graphic. It's old now, but I like this version the best. It's kind of like, looks like a map. There's 9,000 of these things, and I'm a MarTech platform, and so I'm competing with 9,000 other tools for the attention of like a pretty finite group of people. And so if we do what everyone else does, then I can't really expect anybody to remember me. And I want people to remember me, and I think it makes it even worse when you're marketing to marketers, right? So marketing to marketers, they've seen everything, they've heard everything. And so it's even harder to stand out from a marketing perspective when you're marketing to marketers. Marketer. And then to add to it even more, it's like, even with 9,000 tools and all the categories that we have around there, I would challenge you, like, go to 5 different websites of different MarTech companies, even in different spaces, like totally different categories. And as a lay person, you really can't tell the difference of what they do if you're on their website. They all talk about revenue, they all talk about efficiency, and it's like, oh, which one of these do I need? Which one of these 9,000 do I need? So, the problem, and it's the same for a lot of companies. It's not just a MarTech problem. You're competing for the attention of a finite group of individuals. And so you have to be memorable. And the best way to be memorable, I mean, being memorable means staying in somebody's mind, right? So you want to get that nugget. You want to get in somebody's mind. And the best way to get into somebody's mind is to, oh, this is the only thing that will cause me problems if a bee lands on me. Seriously, you might see a complete freak out if if a bee lands on me. That could be fun. So there's lots of ways to generate emotion, to evoke emotion in marketing. There's the humor, right? I like humor because I like to laugh. And I know if somebody really makes me laugh and they do it in a way that's relevant, I'm gonna remember that, especially in B2B marketing. There's so much boring stuff in B2B marketing. Surprise, you can surprise people. So if they see something they've never seen before and they appreciate it, it'll stick with them. You don't necessarily want to surprise people with just really, really random stuff, because that'll surprise people, but like for the wrong reason. Story is another really emotional evoking, what am I saying here? Emotional evoking thing. People people gravitate towards story. They really like a story. If you can put something in the context of a story, it really, really becomes memorable, and it stays with people. And then you've got your traditional, like, FOMO or fear, anxiety, those kinds of emotions. Those can be powerful, but I don't know. Powerful, but maybe not so much fun, when you're trying to evoke. But FOMO can work, but it's kind of like, do I want to scare somebody into, like paying attention to me, or do I want to surprise and delight them into paying attention to me? No, I'd rather go the positive route, but it all works. All these things really, there it is. All these things really work. This is fun. I love this. This is fun doing this outside. Cool. So, there's ups and downs to creativity. There's things that can help you like be creative, and things that can kind of take away from your creativity. And they're kind of both two sides of the same coin, I guess. But you really want these things. You want and need leadership support for experimentation and failure, because if you don't have that, and I'll be honest, the amount of our customers that I meet with where they actually don't have that, like that support at the leadership level, and sometimes it's like lip service. Like leadership will say they support it, but then when it comes down to it, it's kind of like, well, yeah, no, we want experimentation, but like just make sure every experiment succeeds. It's like, well, that's not how this works. And by the way, I hope I'm watching the chat. I hear boop boop in my ear, so if I'm not, I apologize. We'll definitely get to it when Pep joins back on. But a healthy and clear mind, like I can't say enough about this, and that means everything from like taking care of yourself physically, like getting enough sleep, also handling your personal shit, like taking care of your personal problems, so that you're fresh at work. You can be your whole self at work. So I honestly can't understate that one. You need space and time to develop ideas. You don't necessarily want to be on a deadline, when it comes to doing something creative. You don't want it to be like a make or break thing, but sometimes, this last point, it actually can help. So if you have constraints, constraints can actually oftentimes drive a lot of creativity. And I'll talk about that in a second when we talk about combo ads. And that's kind of how I got into that one. On the other side, it's kind of the same. It's the similar things. It's just like the opposite, but leadership worried about the ROI of every single dollar. So if you have leadership that's like, great, you can experiment, but I need to know the ROI of every single one of these experiments. And it's kind of like, and attribution software sometimes doesn't get the gist, of some of the best campaigns. Anxiety and operating out of fear. You don't want to be operating out of fear. Poor sales and marketing alignment. And why is this not, if you don't have good sales and marketing alignment, why does this hurt creativity? Well, it's because it kind of just generates that fear, because you're going to be like, oh man, if I do this campaign and it doesn't work, is sales just going to be like, see, I told you, and you don't want that. And so sometimes, if you have good sales and marketing alignment, and you've got good trust there, that actually can support it. And then you don't want impossible goals, so you want high goals enough to push you to the edge of, you don't want to be on the edge, but you want to push to like can you do this? You know, is it possible? And it kind of get a challenge, but you push those goals a little too far, and now you're in that like paralysis mode. So, all right, let's jump in and talk about some of these campaigns. So, I like to talk about the conversation ads because this is really where it started. We started this campaign at the very beginning of the pandemic. And if you don't know what a combo ad is, it's basically like a drift chat bot inside of LinkedIn sponsored messaging. Everybody on this call has probably gotten one from me, or 17. I apologize for that if that's the case, but you wouldn't be getting them all if they didn't work. So the constraint I had on this one is it was the beginning of the pandemic, and my budget guy, I had just started full-time here at Metadata, and our CEO Gil was like, "Hey Jason, thanks for starting here. By the way, you know that budget I promised you and that headcount I promised you, well, can't really do that now." So I had my budget cut by 60%. My goal stayed the same. I didn't have a headcount to hire, so I needed to find like an arbitrage way of driving demand. We had like barely any demand at that point, like maybe 18 to 20 demos a month. And so I was like, I want to use email because it's free, but I really dislike email because I get thrown off by the metrics. The metrics are not right. You know, like every time a spam filter opens an email, you get a false open, you know, and a false click, and you just don't really know. And so I didn't want to use email, but I was like, what's like email? Oh, sponsored messaging. Looked at sponsored messaging inside of LinkedIn, and lo and behold, Conversation Ads was in beta at that time. I was like, oh, what's this? And I looked at it, I was like, oh, I'd rather do that. It's kind of a choose your own adventure kind of a thing. I can take people down a path. And this is what I love about Conversation Ads. It's like you can do all the way from awareness, interest, consideration, you know, you can get all that done in one ad. So we tried that out, and sure enough, it worked. It just started working. And we offered an incentive, you know, we offered a $100 incentive. At the time, it made a lot of sense. It was DoorDash. You know, people in the pandemic, everyone was tired of cooking at home. Like, oh, DoorDash, it makes a lot of sense. And it just worked. And honestly, it's 2.5 years later, and it's still our biggest driver of demand in marketing, like demand capture, I'd say. Here's some stats. I just pulled these. Actually, I haven't pulled these in a while. So it's been running about 2.5 years. I've spent $1.2 million on that ad type. You're welcome, LinkedIn. It's sourced 18.3. We don't track influence pipeline because it'd probably be like the hundreds of millions of dollars, honestly. But source pipeline, $18.3 million, and then directly closed one attributed, you know, to this campaign of 3.3. So really insane ratios. But you know, it's important to know they close at 1/5 that of unincentivized demos. And so like, well, oh, why would you still do them? Well, the unit economics still work out. They're still very economical. And you can see from these ratios. Now, those ratios, of course, collapse over time a little bit, but it's still, it's revenue positive. It's not just pipeline positive. So that's great. So that was the first one. And, you know, having that work and having that experience and trying a lot of other things, we had a lot of other things fail too. You know, several things fail, several things succeed. But having that early one have some success really gave us the trust, you know, inside of the rest of the organization, which was like 20 people at the time. But the sales team really gave us the trust that like, okay, they're serious about driving demand, and we've really kept up pace since. So, a couple of other fun campaigns, and let's see if I can get this to work. Hopefully sound will play, but. This is our oh shit marketing moments. And so what we wanted to do here is Brittany Blanken, who heads up demand gen on my team, she started like January this year. And everyone who starts here, we have them listen to a bunch of gong calls so they can just get familiar, like the initial calls, you know, with prospects, so they can just get a handle on, you know, what's interesting to our prospects, what are the objections, et cetera. Well, Brittany listened to all these and she's like, wow, there's a lot of these moments where the first time they, you know, this light bulb moment goes off and they just get really excited on the call. And I wonder if we can use those. And sure enough, this is about a 3-month project. We started by finding some of these in Gong, but then we asked the sales reps, we're like, hey, can you do a tag? And I can't remember how you tag in Gong, but there's some way you can like tag while you're doing a call. Can you tag these times when people are having these like light bulb moments? And so we started doing that, and then we basically used our creative agency, Albert, who's amazing, to build this video. And I'll try and play it. Let's see if it works. Hopefully it does. So you get the gist, just in case it's not, you can't get the sound. You get the gist of it, and hopefully you've seen it out there. But, you know, this one, sorry, I'm just going to try and get my thing back. All right. This one really took off, and people were like, oh, that's an ad. It doesn't feel like an ad. And we had actually several people do like a podcast about it, talk about it, write about it on LinkedIn. We knew we had something special, but like probably not as much attention as it got. And this, it drives a lot of demos, because I think here, we always knew these light bulb moments happened, but we wanted to figure out, how do we make these happen in ads? Well, you may or may not. Like, what one light bulb moment for marketer A is different than light bulb moment for marketer B. And so, but we thought, well, what if we just showed the marketers having these moments? And then that's going to maybe make people think like, I wonder what my light bulb moment might be. So, let me get on a call with them. So yeah, that was the genesis of that one. And it's been working really well for us. The next one, no. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry. 1 second. All right, let's see. There we are. Nice. I saved it. The bobblehead campaign. So we just got this one started in actually 2 or 3 weeks ago. We finally, this is a 4-month campaign in the making. And my thought behind this one was, I love gifting. I loved gifting campaigns, but when the pandemic started, it was like, man, gifting, to me at least, I'm sure that I know there's companies that have figured it out, gifting became like just a no-no, because it was like, I don't know where anybody works. Nobody really wants to give you their home address. So now if you have to get that address verification, like the take rate, just obviously, because before you just sent them out, and just like get people to kind of guilt them into it. Like, you just send it out, they got it because they're working at an office, and you know where that office is. But I don't know where people live, and they don't really want to tell me where they live. I might show up on their door knocking. Actually, that's probably something I might do. So so they don't want to give me their address, and so it's like, well, and also, like, true gifting means like you put thought and you put time into it. And so, like, yeah, we could go find, like, all right, what college do they go to, and we can customize a gift for them with that, or they've got dogs, and like send them a dog toy. That's thoughtful. But I thought, what would really, really stand out, and it would be like something that's like literally handmade for that person, that I couldn't like quickly do or anything like that. And then I needed a way to generate some buzz and interest on this. So I was like, I'm going to do this on social. I'm going to try this on social. Now, this won't work forever, but this was the first one we did with Abacus Next, and with Lisa. She's been a great sport. This, like, my post got 60,000 impressions. Probably my most engaged post ever. And we got the meeting. I was actually just on the meeting with her on Monday, and we've got a demo follow up after that. And so 1 for 1. I sent another one out for MailChimp last week, but haven't gotten them on. But now it turns into an ABM campaign. So now if I don't get them in LinkedIn, we have emails. We'll keep going until we find them. But this one, the inspiration on this one was I like to gift. I want to gift, but I want something interesting. And it was a friend of mine, James Winter, who you may know, also a great B2B marketer. He put a post on LinkedIn. He had just gotten back from an event, and he posted this picture of a caricature. So a booth at this in-person event had a caricature drawing person, like those you get like at a fair or something. I was like, oh, that's cool, because it's personalized to them. And James said, yeah, their booth was like, it had buzz the whole time, and that's really what you want to do at a in-person. And it just got me thinking. I was like, how can I do something like that, but like take it to the next level? And I'll tell you, that picture on the bottom left of this, that's the process. Like, it is a process. We had to find the target accounts. Which ones are these? What are our top 30? What are the top 2 marketers there? But like, maybe not the top 2, but who is also on social? You know what I mean? Who might respond on social? So we had to find the marketers there. Then we had to find their images. We just used LinkedIn images, and so then they literally get hand carved in China, and this was the process. They'd like finish the head and they'd send me an image and I'd have to like, no, this is wrong or this is right. And then they'd send me like the painted version. It's like, no, the hair color is wrong. And let me tell you all, that drove so much anxiety for me, because I was like, I don't know. Does this look right? I don't want somebody to get a bobblehead. This doesn't look anything like me. Like, why would you ever do this? And so, but so far so good. I've got 28 now bobbleheads sitting in my home office, just waiting to get sent out. Maybe one of you all will be on that list. We'll see. So that's what I've got for y'all today. Looks like I hit right at 20 minutes. So look at that. I will stop sharing my screen, and we've got some time for some Q&A, I'm absolutely sure.
Awesome, dude. Really, really great. So I don't know if we get to the people's Q&A, because I have so many of my own questions. So we'll start with mine, just because
Sounds good.
taking advantage of my position here. All right. So those DoorDash offers, okay, you said it's like 5 times more better than the without incentive. Still, I get asked how many people were like, okay, thanks for the demo, but like, where's my food now?
Yep. So yeah, you have tire kickers. And so when we first started it, we were like, nobody tire kicked it first because they were surprised by this. I've never seen this before. A couple months in, we started getting people like, yeah, video off, and yeah, great. And then like, where's my gift card? And so pretty soon after, I put some qualifications in the Convo ad itself. I was like, hey, we're all marketers here. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get your attention. I think you're right I targeted you for a specific reason. So please don't mess around, and that actually helped a lot. And then we just got really good at targeting. And so like, even if they're just like kind of not paying attention and there for the gift card, we try and get that light bulb moment to go off. And oftentimes, and what we saw in the data is like, people come back 3, 6, 9 months. The incentive will get around like timing and pain. You know what I mean? Like, they might not have pain right now, or the timing might be wrong, but they'll take the demo for the incentive. But then I'm there, and I'm there maybe before any of my like competitors are. And
so you're raising
awareness
memorable. One person at a time.
Yep.
If I may ask, what type of titles were you targeting? Was it like VP level or director level, or
all demand gen? But anywhere manager, director, head of demand gen, VP of marketing. We stayed away from CMOs unless it was a much smaller company. And then if it's a larger company, we'll go down to manager, even sometimes specialist, because what we found is our sales team is really good at kind of navigating the org, kind of going up if they need to.
why avoid the CMO?
Well, of larger companies, just because oftentimes we want kind of the boots on the ground, kind of that groundswell, people asking for us, and so we'll advertise to CMOs, but oftentimes it's more of our kind of demand gen content, thought leadership stuff. But then when it gets like down to brass tacks on the demos, we're going more for the people on the ground.
Got it. All right. I'm going to have people also have a chance to ask questions. Carolina is asking, how do you take creative risks when you set brand guidelines? And do you first run your ideas by the C-suite? Like, is Gil approving your ads or something?
Luckily, and I know it's easy for me to say this because I have a CEO that like maniacally supports this. Our platform is all about experimentation. So like, just from the outset, Gil is like, please experiment, and I'm okay with failure, and he is. And so, but I created the brand guidelines. So again, I can say like, I created those, and then these all fit within the brand guidelines. But our brand guidelines, when I built it 3 years ago, it literally was like, think of that person when you were at college with, that really kind of nerdy person, but they were also very funny and witty and smart. That's what I want our brand to be. And that there's a lot of playfulness in that, and so that allows you some creative freedom. But yes, this is one of the things I mentioned in that one slide, where it's like, things you need support for. You have to have support from leadership. And you don't want them to have to like approve everything, because then that slows things way down, because then they want to not only approve, it's not approve, they want to weigh in now, and then you got to go make changes and come back. So I think really the way is to run a test with the leadership. Say, hey, okay, cool, you want to approve everything, let's do this. let's do like 2 campaigns where we do the normal, and then let me do 2 campaigns where we don't, you know, and then let's come back and we'll see how fast we're able to get these out. What were the results, you know, and then let's actually just, you know, let's test ourselves on that. And that'll oftentimes, like, you know, show leadership that they don't have to weigh in on everything, and actually can, oftentimes, most of the time, it's better when they don't weigh in.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Mark is asking here, what's the appetite for brand-driven marketing? Actually, it's kind of a vague question. Maybe Mark, you can rephrase and be more specific.
I mean, I can talk about. Oh, sure.
Just to make sure that we get his intent here. But Lenka is asking, what was the main thing that helped you in nailing the targeting with your ads?
I mean, I don't really like to be self-promotional, but, you know, that is one big component of metadata, you know, is our targeting piece. So I just use our platform. But that said, any platform you can use, you're not going to get it right the first time, you know? And so I think what helped us in nailing the audiences is trying it over and over and being smart about how we're tracking those audiences, you know? So like not combining audiences too much so that you can't really tell the difference. So really keeping these audiences segmented and running the exact same campaign oftentimes, that, you know, to those different audiences. And then through that you learn. And what we've learned through that is, and it's often not about which are the right ones or the wrong ones. Sometimes that's where you start, but then it's also about, how do I personalize my message to the right audience? So it's like, these are the right people, but I'm still not getting as much out of it because I'm not quite, you know, like personalizing my message to them. So then once you get that, then you actually start to get even better conversion.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Mark said, so clarifying a little bit. So given the economic landscape and focus on lead gen, what's the appetite for brand-driven marketing, like around positioning, messaging, thought leadership?
Yeah, that's okay. That adds a lot of great context. Yeah, because often now, you know, your budgets are getting cut. What's the leadership going to ask you for? All right, what ads are working and which aren't? And it's a lot easier to show direct attribution from your lower funnel ads, right? Because like most of us are using last touch, you know, so it's like, oh, look at these demo ads. Look at how well they perform. So yeah, let's just cut everything at the top because I can't show a direct attribution to that. That's just short-sighted, unfortunately. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't pull back some of the brand advertising, but you need to still do it in some way. So maybe you pull back on some of the spend, but now you got to get, you know, better on organic, you know what I mean? So like, let's actually like make the brand show through organic. Let's actually do a newsletter, you know what I mean? Let's actually do a podcast. Let's build a community, you know, let's do other ways, you know, that are not paid ads where we can show off that brand and continue to build that brand. Like you don't want to stop brand building, says the marketing ops person who would have argued completely against this 2.5 years ago, but you don't want to stop brand building just because you have to pull back on spend. Find other ways to do it, and you can. Yeah.
So I went to SaaStr last week and, you know, talked to a bunch of CMO types, and then there's a lot of preemptively cutting back budgets because you're preparing for a possible downturn and whatever. So maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy now, but so what are you seeing? Where are budgets getting, like, what's getting cut?
Yeah. I talk to a lot of our customers, and our customers are B2B marketers, and we're all having the same challenge. It's like, what do we cut? And oftentimes the first thing is they come to paid ads because that's often a big part of your budget. And when times are good and money's like available, we don't really focus on efficiency metrics. We focus on what's driving growth, and oftentimes we're not looking at the cost associated with that growth. So we could actually get bloated, and we're like, our CAC is like way out of line. And so, you know, now's the time to tighten that up. And so, you know, you have to look at your paid ads. You got to look at the paid ads and see like, okay, what's working and what's not. But let's not, like I just mentioned before, let's not just like shortchange ourselves and stop everything at the top of the funnel. So yeah, I mean, people sometimes like, and what the finance people are looking to cut are ongoing spend items, right? And so like what I say is you got to find the cuts in those ongoing spend items, but then you should always be going back to finance and your leadership with project ideas. You know what I mean? that costs money, and you're just like, hey, I want to do this, but it's going to cost us this and it's going to get us that. They'll listen to that. You just need to cut the like ongoing spend items, but then come back with like a lot of business cases on projects. And so oftentimes that'll help you get around some of those budget cuts as well.
Awesome, Jason. I really appreciate you taking the time while being in the wilderness. Really, really appreciate it.
It was fun. It was fun. I'm glad it worked. Well, thanks Starlink for that. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Pat.
Yeah. All right. I'll catch you later.